Welcome to the Sleeping Barber Podcast.
Post Pod.
It's the Post Pod with Marc and V. Woohoo! The crowd goes wild. Oh, that's what we're going to hear at Cannes, aren't we? All the time.
All the time.
Red carpets.
Adoring fans. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. So good. Sure, we'll take a picture with you. Yep.
Yes, okay.
No problem.
You want me to sign that shirt? I can sign that.
Just randomly start signing people's shirts.
Bring our own markers.
That'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about something else, aren't we?
We are. We're talking about Connor and Matt from TrackSuit.
Well, first of all, I love the tracksuits. I think that's such a
so good
distinctive brand asset if we want to use the right terminology here, but it makes it a lot of fun. They were great. What a great conversation.
Yeah. That's a funny story, but I think it was Matt maybe who said that he was wearing an Adidas tracksuit at the Nike office.
Totally. But he's like open to sponsorships. Like, no worries.
Yeah.
That was so good.
What were some of the takeaways you had?
You know the power of three? I love the power of three. So there were three things. Brand is more than a logo. It's a long game. Creativity and community trump clicks. And the third was measurement, mindset, and the marketing seat.
Mm-hmm.
Let's dive quickly into and this is a no-brainer for a lot of marketers out there. I know this, but sometimes it's good to repeat. Brand is more than a logo. It's a long game. You know, There was that recent study done by System 1, the idea of compound creative kind of builds over time. But, both Connor and Matt really talked about that as well. Especially on the B2B side, brand awareness is especially critical. B2B ensures brands are even more considered in purchasing decisions. Understanding both current and future demand allows for more strategic brand planning. Then we were talking about the startups, the startup world a little bit. And it's bootstrapping gives founders greater control over brand direction and then long-term thinking as well.
Mm-hmm.
So just, again, let's not forget that we're not here just to drive short-term. We're here to drive long-term as well.
Yeah. I think on that note, I pushed a lot towards the brand tracking side. And I remember I would say they were the ones that were kind of saying, no, let's not throw out the baby with the bathwater. Lower funnel performance stuff is still super important. And I think one of the takeaways after having re-listened to chunks of that podcast was there's a comment they had around whether it's brand or whether it's performance. You want to know what channels are doing the work.
Yeah.
So there's some element of that to using the measurement that you have available to you to have a guess or hypothesis around which is the best channel to do those things. But both the outcomes are important. You want to do both the short and the long, which is not news for a lot of people, but it just is. There's a caution, I guess, around going all in on the other way, going ditch to ditch, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
I love that. What else did I have there? We did talk about performance marketing has been dominating a lot of marketing strategies, but there's that growing need to make sure that we're rebalancing the investments, which I think, again, it goes without saying. We've talked about endlessly the 60-40 split as a rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Of course, every brand, every organization it's best that they do their own evaluation on what that right mix is, but starting with something like that is not a terrible idea. And
I think there was also the comment around with measurements. They had that, I think it was Matt maybe that brought it up, where you could be measuring everything off of say 2 people, but there's actually 7 people in the market and you have no data on the other 5.
Yes.
And so don't just blindly trust the data that you've got available to you, because assuming it's all accurate, it's directional at best.
Actually, let's go to measurement right now. And I love that they also, I think we reflected a little bit on our MBA that we did, and we talked a little bit about the lack of education around marketing effectiveness systems and those forums, and I guess we can only really speak for Canada, likely maybe more North America, where it's still not mainstay. It's not something that a lot of marketers are talking about or spending time with. But if we think about the evolving ecosystems that the digital landscapes that we're forced to look at, these effectiveness principles almost become the way that you can start thinking about these in a more constructive way.
Mm-hmm.
And in absence of that, you can just go down these rabbit holes, if you will, especially if you're led by partners and things like that on specific tactics and things like to that effect, that you could be led down a path that's not actually driving profitability that you need for your business. So making sure that you those that likely listen to the podcast are already on the marketing effectiveness train, like as we are, is almost like serve as evangelists, if you will, in those spaces where educate people with them. Sure. Make sure you're spending time, because it just helps. I would argue it helps everything that you do.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I actually am doing that vibe marketing workshop this week, and yeah, we recorded that a couple of weeks ago. Now we're fast forward a couple of weeks. Now we're doing the post plot, but magic of audio. But yeah, so we are doing that. I'm super excited to see what the results are going to be, because we're going to have one group that's going to use prompts that are based on marketing effectiveness, prompts that are based on another group with prompts based on more traditional stuff, and then another group that's just going to run vibe. Just to go fast. And I'm kind of curious to see if we'll be able to get good, fast, and cheap. I don't know if you can do all three still. Like, it'll be interesting.
Isn't it always like, I don't know, sometimes you go down those like Instagram reels, like there's three. If you want it fast, you have to pick three. So it's like
pick two,
speed, quality, and cost.
Mm-hmm.
You can only have two out of the three. You can't have three out of three ever. So it's like, if you want to prioritize cost and speed, then you're going to suffer on quality, for example. Or if you want to prioritize quality and cost, your time spent is going to be higher, right? So it's like, can you have all three? I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. I'll be curious to see what that goes.
The effectiveness stuff too. Moment. Totally. Yeah. The effectiveness stuff too. It's interesting. They were talking about, I think it was a study that Ritson had commented on or found anyway, about 24%, I think it was, is the number of marketers in the UK were professional or trained in marketing. I don't know that it's that different. Even Connor, I think, said that he was, if I'm not mixing up the two, but Connor had a legal degree.
Right.
And so like I had a science degree. Like I don't know. There's not a lot of people in marketing that had training. And to your point, even if you did, especially if you're in North America, it was Kotler sort of
totally
fundamentals of marketing, which isn't a bad thing, but it's not the whole picture. And they haven't been updated for a long time. So
no, exactly.
Yeah. So it's interesting hearing like all these principles and concepts and stuff. And the idea that if you're not investing just in your own betterment and understanding these tools and the systems and the theories and evidence that supports decision making, then you could just be blindly going about doing your day-to-day job without knowing whether or not it's actually all doing a good thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, that's a great point. Okay, what else did we have here? Okay. I think this one goes without saying, aligning investor expectations with long-term brand strategy remains a persistent challenge, right? I think that's something that a lot of those individuals working in the startup setups, like, you're constantly fighting, right?
Yeah.
You know the importance of driving long-term brand growth, but at the same time, they need results in the moment. I would argue it's not even startups. Like a lot of enterprise, it's everywhere. Like, but
I think with the startups, the thing is they have a runway.
That's true.
Because there's only a certain amount of cash until the next raise. And so you're looking at how do you prove the value in somebody investing in your company. And if you don't have more cash by the time the next raise comes around, you're kind of hooked. So it is the same thing. It's short-term pressure, like a large company, enterprise. You would have quarterly pressure, but there's a little bit more cash flow to carry you forward.
Mm-hmm. This is no, I agree. But I think this also comes back to why like a service like TrackSuit becomes important, because one of the sound bites, if I remember again correctly, is like brand tracking can bridge that gap between short-term performance metrics and long-term brand equity.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not tracking it, it's hard for you to make the case for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is where, like, again, like a service like TrackSuit comes really handy, and making sure that you start somewhere where you can start building some of that.
Yeah, it's a
knowledge.
thing. Yeah, like we did a survey for the Marketing Association, and one of the things that lots of people said was the primary job of marketing was to raise awareness, which makes sense. But hardly anybody I know actually does brand tracking.
It's like, oh, Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like everybody's got Google ads or anyone using Google and Facebook has definitely got all kinds of data that they're puking out of those systems. But it's I would say, unless you're a big company, which is probably where TrackSuit, why they fit in there, they just don't have resources or the time or the energy or the expertise to measure any kind of brand lift. But everybody believes that it's important. So it's kind of an interesting
Totally
conundrum.
You know it's important, but you don't need to measure it because I don't even know if you have a good reason. Those of you out there,
just expensive and confusing.
Can be.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, I think for the average person,
that's fair.
Yeah,
I shouldn't poo-poo on it at all, but you're right. So it is.
Yeah.
Cost can be a barrier
for sure.
Is there anything else that stood out to you?
I mean, those are all the really big ones for me. I think just the idea around, like, I also like one last thing, just as a comment, was I really like the idea of their long play with getting brand tracking into schools and universities.
Yes.
I think that's a really smart play, but also just great for the schools and universities that are using it, because like it's such an important component, as we just talked about, that everyone thinks marketing raises awareness, but there's very few tools that actually can measure it. So I think it's really great to have put the tools in people's hands.
Yeah, that's a great point. The earlier you get access to this, the more you start asking for it. And starting in, say, at the school level where people or students are becoming a little bit more comfortable with this idea, okay, we're learning about it. Here's how you're tracking it.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes it, when you get out in the wild, it's like, hey, are we tracking our brand? Yes, no. Well, I know of a tool. I think it's such a smart play on their side too.
Yeah. Yeah.
We want to make sure like we're training these young marketers that are going to be coming up through this ecosystem that they're prepared. And yeah.
And that's it.
I think that's all. Yeah, I think that's all. It was a great conversation. Thanks to you both, gentlemen, for coming on and sharing your insights with us. It was, as always, greatly appreciated. And for everyone else, make sure you like, share, comment. I don't know. What else do we say? Ears. Keep us in your ears.
Go chase that profitability.
And we got a lot of exciting stuff coming.
We got a ton of stuff really exciting.
We got a big trip coming up, Marc. I don't know if you realize we're leaving in like a week.
Yeah.
A little over a week.
I know.
That's nuts.
I know. It's kind of, there's the canned craziness thing is for real right now. Just there's so much stuff trying to pre-plan.
Remember when we were talking, we were saying, well, what are we going to do when we get there? And now we're like, we don't have any time to do anything else. We're like booked up.
Well, maybe we'll see Connor and Matt.
Well, I hope we see Connor and Matt. This is an open invitation, Connor and Matt. Actually, we've already reached out to you, so we will be seeing you. It's all good. All right. All right. Have a great rest of your morning. And thank you, listeners, once again. Go chase that profitability, boy. Is that a thing?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Probably. It is somewhere. It is now.
I don't know.
It's here.
I had another 5:45 a.m. ride, so I'm already loopy. So don't even.
Yeah, I did yoga this morning. I almost fainted in the class.
There you go. Yeah. We're off to a hot start. There it is.
Hot start. Not even 8. Well, it's a little after 8.
It's a little after 8. All right, buddy.
All right, man.
Have a great day.
Later.
Bye.